Why, you're not rich.
Mike, I'm so excited to be here. I was very surprised when you said that, hey, you want to do a review about the controversial Pasolini film Salo, or 120 Days of Sodom. But I'm here for it. I'm excited to talk about this underseen masterpiece.
Oh. Well, there's something about that I forgot to mention. We're going to talk about Star Wars: The Acolyte instead.
Oh.
I called Rich and he refused. He hung up on me, actually. So...
I'd rather be in 120 Days of Sodom.
So it is indeed true. We are here talking about The Acolyte whilst there is hunger in the world.
It's true.
So Rich refused to be part of the Acolyte discussion part 2, so I tagged in Jay, and I said, Jay, watch all 8 episodes of the Acolyte. It's basically a 2-hour movie that's been stretched to, I don't know, 6.3 hours.
Yeah, they were really stretching, because I looked at the times of the episodes, and they're all like 45, 48 minutes. But then you tack on at the beginning of each episode the previously on, then the opening title, and then like 8 minutes of end credits. Each episode is like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I was shocked at how long the credits for each episode were.
And each 30-minute episode contains approximately 4 minutes of story content.
Yeah, sometimes less, but that's an average, I guess.
Well, so okay, I've been deep, elbow deep in the Acolyte for a while now, and you binged it today.
Yes, and then we got to get this done quick before it's all completely out of my mind.
Right, and I'm just like, I know you don't care about a Star War.
I'm a big fan of 2.5 Star Wars films, and that's where my Star Wars fandom ends.
Yeah.
But watching this, I know you and Rich already talked about episode 1 through 4, so we won't go into detail about all those episodes. But out of the post prequel era Star Wars stuff I've seen, there's the new movies, which went off the rails pretty quickly. I watched the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and I was gonna say I haven't watched anything Star Wars related since Mandalorian, and I completely forgot that I watched the entirety of the Obi-Wan show. That was just like gone from my memory banks. Someone deleted it from the memory banks.
Oh, the Obi-Wan show, like, nothing was lost or accomplished.
No. That's what I will give this show. I guess I'm kind of in line with Rich, where I thought it was incredibly mediocre. Not worth getting angry about, but not really a whole lot to praise. But it's interesting because after the prequels, Disney bought it for Star Wars for whatever, $4 billion. They rebooted it with The Force Awakens, which the whole point of Force Awakens was, hey, we're going to get back to the tone of the original trilogy. And that was the idea. And then it went off the rails from there, but that was the original intention, like to kind of wash the prequels from people's minds.
Bring back the magic.
Bring back the magic. Bring back puppets and big rubber monsters and all that.
An adventure.
Fun.
A scrappy girl from Scranton gets a magic sword and gets on board a spaceship with her friend, and they have to stop the bad guys.
Right. So getting away from the prequel stuff, the bogged down, the Jedi are boring and lame, lots of details about the Force, getting away from all that stuff. And now since The Force Awakens came out, we have the rise of the very vocal people that love the prequels. And so now we're getting Disney Plus shows that are catering more towards prequel fans, which makes sense because prequel fans generally are younger. The original trilogy fans are like us, people our age. And the whole idea, if you want to make
the Obi-Wan show was the last bone they threw us.
There was that, but now this show too is like, oh, this is pre-prequels. They're dealing with more Jedi stuff, boring Jedi stuff. There's a brief mention of midichlorians, but they don't call it midichlorians. They say his M count, because they wanted to just avoid that. But definitely leaning more into prequel type stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what I was kind of surprised to find out that nobody likes this show, because if you're a fan of the prequels, this reminded me so much of the prequels in terms of like boring tone and Jedi being kind of stupid and easily manipulated and tricked. This feels the most like the prequels out of anything post-original trilogy that I've seen. Lots of ideas in it that just in the concept alone to me feels very like prequel era Lucas ideas, but executed in a way that's a little more polished, but also incredibly boring.
Any questions?
It's a mixture. See, Lucas and the prequels, George Lucas is on record saying that he's not a fan of like the spaceships and the excitement and he says he's just like a student of anthropology. He likes the ideas of the rise and fall of empires and societies and social structures and that sort of stuff. He likes the big picture things, right? And the original trilogy was sort of that, but it was on a canvas of adventure and fun with characters you like.
It was all the backdrop stuff.
Yeah, the prequels were his attempt to tell the story of the rise of the fall of an empire, not the empire.
Yeah.
The Coruscant, the Galactic Republic, the fall of the Republic, and the rise of a fascist dictatorship. But also was smart enough to say, kids and families have to have fun. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a dour subject.
Yeah.
Let's put a little kid in there and a cartoon rabbit.
Yes.
And have the little kid flying a spaceship around. And
tone be damned.
And yelling, woohoo! Tone be damned. And to try to mix in my desire to tell the story of the fall of the Galactic Republic and boring scenes of senators talking and stuff like that. I want that part, but I also recognize this has to be for kids on a certain level.
Until Anakin gets his skin burned off while he's still alive.
Yeah.
But that's why this reminded me of the prequels too, is that it is mostly lacking in fun and in joy and excitement. So let's throw in a little rodent tracker guy who will add a little bit of levity to a show that is basically missing all levity.
Yeah.
And he was my favorite part. That little tracker rodent guy was fun.
Oh, sure. And you haven't watched Andor.
I haven't watched Andor.
See,
I'm more interested in watching Andor now because everybody seems to be pretty on board with Andor. And it's like I'm watching this, and another thing I'd heard, I didn't hear a lot about this show before actually watching it, but I heard a lot of like, oh, it looks cheap, it's really bad. And it's like the blocking of like the actors and stuff is kind of static and boring, but the actual production design is nice. Like they have all these wonderful sets and they're shooting on like mountainsides and cliffs and like real locations, not on the volume like the Mandalorian show.
Well, famously, this show had like it was like a $200 million budget or something. Like each episode cost like $25 million or something like that. So, and I think I heard that they wanted real sets for a lot of the time. And yeah, the production designs.
All that stuff looks nice, and I would like to see that with an actual engaging story, which is why I'm more interested now in watching Andor, because I assume that's probably what that is.
Now, yes, Andor is top notch, and it's like with a Star Wars, it's like, what do you do? What's the story in Star Wars anymore? And Andor is like, it kind of throws out all the attempts at like kid stuff for sure. It's very dark, and it even kind of forgoes like really strong characterization, character ties, like romance, friendships. It just kind of like puts that all aside and really tells this very straightforward story about how the empire functions and how like the fascistic nature of it like spreads like cancer. And how it affects like the everyday lives of people, from them getting thrown into prison. There's a couple of episode arc of where they're in a prison, the legal system, the bureaucracy of the empire, like CIA. They're like the cracking down, the Security Bureau, the lesser planets, and so it's just like this endless bureaucracy.
Well, that seems like an aspect of the Star Wars universe that you can logically expand on that the original movies don't.
Yeah.
The Jedi, to me, is not something that is interesting to expand on, or that you really can, which is what this show is more focused on.
That I disagree with, because when I sat down and I said, "What do you do with this show? What do you do with the show that has the Jedi in it?" Because we haven't seen the Jedis since the prequels, and in the prequels they're sort of like complacent. They're just sort of like sitting there meditating. Yoda's like completely unaware of this brewing plot.
They're always unaware of everything.
Well, yeah, they now have the Worf syndrome, where the dark side is so evil it clouds your mind. And when Worf is the strong guy in the Star Trek Enterprise, and so to show that an alien is bad, they beat up Worf, and then thus Worf always looks like he's getting beat up. So the Jedi always look like they're completely unaware, because the bad guys have to show how powerful they are in order to cloud the minds of the Jedi.
Okay.
So yes, in the Phantom Menace and the other two films, they're just walking around, and I think there's that scene where Anakin's walking with Mace Windu, and he's like, "I think I think Senator Palpatine is a Sith Lord." And Samuel L. Jackson stops, just what?
They're just walking down
Sith
this
Lord?
CGI hallway, right? Yeah.
Yes, he said some things to me, some creepy things to me in his closet about the dark side. What, a Sith Lord? What?
A Sith Lord?
What? And
But I guess that's my question: is what are the, not necessarily a Jedi, but like the Force? If you are a Force user, what are you capable of doing? Because it seems to be whatever is necessary for any given scene.
well, yeah, it's
That's always my problem with the Jedi and the Force.
I mean, there's a lot of like intricacies of this show, and there's all the Star Wars canon and all this kind of stuff, and
I don't care about minute details of
Yeah.
that type of stuff, but at the end of this show, spoilers, we're talking about the entire series. At the end, Dark Helmet, what's the bad guy's name?
well, they call him Darth Teeth
Darth Teeth.
because he's got the helmet.
When he was swinging his lightsaber around with the helmet on, he looked like Dark Helmet from Spaceballs to me.
I can't breathe in this thing!
But at the end, when he's with the two sisters, who we discover aren't really
Oh, yeah,
sisters,
wipes
they're
her
the same
mind.
person, he's like, "I can wipe your sister's mind, and then she will not know about me or you." And I'm like, oh, they can do that? That seems like that would be very convenient to do when you're fighting an enemy. Now they don't know that you're their enemy.
I mean,
like,
you could do the Jedi. It's like maybe a Sith version of the Jedi mind trick.
Sure.
Because the Jedi, because they say when you become a Sith, you have access to more powers that are considered unnatural
That's
and evil.
true, yeah.
So maybe like there's that opportunity never came up.
Okay.
But you think Lord Vader would have done it a couple times?
It seems like it's just like in Phantom Menace when they run really fast in the hallway. That one moment. It's like there's plenty of opportunities there that would really come in handy. So that's why I don't care about the Jedi, that aspect of it.
Well, here's the interesting part of the show.
Okay.
And my overall impression of it is, because I really,
It's not the worst thing ever.
I tried to be, referencing the internet's reaction. Let's
Yes.
just say that. It's episode 1 of The Acolyte is the worst thing that's ever happened in the universe. Episode 2 is the worst thing that's ever happened. Episode 3 is the worst thing. How this wasn't explained. This wasn't explained. This wasn't explained. His helmet is made of corporalite. Cortosis.
Oh, okay. Get it right, or people be angry.
Corporalite is a fossilized dinosaur turd.
Oh.
So it's cortosis. It's a special metal that deflects lightsaber beams, and it's in all the canon and stuff. So, and then why didn't it say that this helmet's made of cortosis? That's a plot hole. And then the next episode, here's my helmet. It's made of cortosis. So it's like, wait till the very end.
Cortosis. Handy against lightsabers, but also a sensory deprivation headpiece.
The thing that was bothering me more than like, yeah, any sort of like details like that, where it's like, oh, that might be a story beat later on, like whatever, I'll keep watching. But there's a lot of, especially in the, like, it was very front loaded, the first half of the season. There's a lot of like things that are established and then immediately resolved. Like that first episode, Soul, is like, your sister, we believe May is dead. And then like the very next scene, my sister's not dead. I believe you. And then we move on. There's a lot of that type of stuff where it's like, well, why even bother establishing that?
It's
Why is Dark Helmet even a mystery as to who is behind the mask? It ultimately doesn't matter.
and that's the big question, is what's the ultimate goal?
Yeah.
Which we'll get to. But yeah, there's many like lines that are just, it's very badly written in the, when you break it down, when you start pulling the threads out.
And that's the stuff that's more important to me than what the guy's helmet is made of. Like, who cares about those
it's
details?
almost like the first episode, they Rich and I talked about this. May is accused of murder. No, I'm sorry. Osha is accused of murder.
Oh, yeah.
May shows up in the beginning, kills Carrie Ann Moss, and then the bartender says that's her. It looked like that lady, with the Rick James haircut. It looked like her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then they go find her, and then they're like, where were you? I was on the ship.
Where were you last night?
On this freighter, in this room.
Okay, well, I don't know. Come with us. You're under arrest. Here, get on this space transport, and we're going to leave you on an automated space transport so that you can escape. And so both of those things, it's like, okay, and it's like, oh, that's stupid. But that guy, Jedi Master Yord, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, that was a really stupid thing, Master Soul, to let her on an unmanned space transport. I should have escorted her back to Coruscant myself.
I thank you for choosing me for this mission. I should have brought Osha in myself. I apologize for my error.
Okay, he admitted he did a stupid thing. But the plot needed her to escape and do things and, have an adventure and then get immediately recaptured. It was almost like filler. Yeah. And then
you got to have stuff happen.
Because I went back and I rewatched, because I was barely paying attention the first time. I went back and rewatched, and I'm like, why did they think, like, wasn't she on the spaceship? Doesn't she got the receipts for that, as the kids say?
Yeah.
And then there's a throwaway line where her friend, who's also a mechneck, says,
Osha, why didn't you come out last night? You missed a wild trip to Nar Shaddaa with the piloting crew?
Yeah.
Yep.
so, okay, you could go back.
No eyewitnesses, I guess.
It's almost like, yeah. Or, I don't know. And yeah, no eyewitnesses that she was on the party planet or off on shore leave or whatever. And so it's like someone went back and just like threw that stupid line in there to like cover their tracks.
Yeah.
Because you start like picking this whole thing apart. But that to me, someone someday out there will make a 12-hour-long video nitpicking every single little thing in this.
Yeah.
But my thing is, what's a Star War?
What's the overall story? What's the
What are you supposed
stakes?
to get
What's
out of
the
this?
drama?
And there's two things. There's a fork in this road. When you sat down and you say, I'm going to make a show called The Acolyte. What is it that I want to say? What is it that I want people to get out of this?
The whole thing is about like perception, and like what the motivations of every character is. Like they think they're doing the right thing, but to the eyes of somebody else, they might be doing something that is evil, and misunderstandings. There's a lot of that. One of my like least
Is that a fun lesson?
No. One of my
Is that
least
fun?
favorite like plot contrivances that's used for like lazy screenwriting is the misunderstanding and the not explaining to a character what is going on because the plot demands it. And that's the entire show is that. It's not just like a one like plot point in a movie. It's the entire series is built on that. Just like the lazy contrivance of not knowing all the information and not being told the information, because if you were, then there would be no story.
Example?
And that's the season.
Like what happened on Brendock?
Yeah. We get the 2 flashback episodes kind of Rashomon style, seeing it from different perspectives. And I still don't understand. I know that was something people complained about in the first flashback. Like, how did all the witches die? They clearly didn't get burned. They're all just laying there dead. They're not burnt up. And I'm still not sure after the second flashback how they all died. They're controlling Chewbacca.
They all had brain aneurysms because Carrie Moss broke their psychic link.
And that just killed them.
I think so.
Okay, I assume, like, obviously that's, she takes the spell off of the Wookiee Jedi,
Yes.
and then they all just fall over. I was like, I guess that that killed them somehow.
They were all using their collective Jedi witch brains.
It takes all of them to control the Wookiee, I guess.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then, Carrie Ann Moss broke the link with using her own Jedi magic, and then that caused them all to just die.
They just fell over.
I think that's what happened. And so it's here's like the big, the two big mistakes are the two plot threads. The one there's the story they're telling about the Jedi, and the idea of the Jedi and what their function is and what they do. And then the other plot line is these two little girls that grow up to be Osha and May that we are supposed to care about, and their relationship with Saul. And
Who, by the way, Squid Game's actor,
yeah,
propped up the whole show. I thought he was good. He felt like a stoic, serious, real Jedi.
yeah, they threw him under the bus. Yeah,
I guess he learned English for this role.
I want to say learned English is in quotation marks because during all the press junkets, there's an interpreter there.
Oh, okay.
제다이 마스터인데도 불구하고 어떤 그 상황과 사건을 만났을 때 그때마다 느껴지는 공포와 그 두려움이
I think
He learned his specific lines in English for the show.
I think it was like a Temple of Doom situation.
Okay.
With the Indian guide.
On the way to Delhi, you will stop at Bangkok.
Say it like this.
I mean, if that's the case, that's even more impressive in
he
this
did-
show. I
he
thought
did-
he did a damn good job compared to a lot of the other
yeah, he's
performances.
very like charismatic. He's very like he's got the it, and he's the only one in the show who has like the it factor.
Yeah.
I'm excluding Carrie Ann Moss, who's.
Well,
I can imagine this animated in that like junky like Clone Wars style, like cheapo CGI.
oh, sure.
And like TV 14 rated for like Disney Junior. Minus the sexuality stuff, it all felt very like the writing on level of like a cartoon show,
Yeah.
and not up to the caliber of something like Andor or a live action thing. Although I haven't watched Ahsoka.
I don't think people like that one.
I don't know what that was. The Obi-Wan thing was trash. It was guilty pleasure trash.
Yeah, you got to clarify. If you say trash now, people say, but when it came out, you loved it.
I-
and they miss the quotations around.
Well, I
I
loved it.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't know if people understand what guilty pleasure means.
Yeah.
Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan?
I will do what I must.
It's something you can really love. And
People don't
enjoy.
understand when you call this show mediocre. They call you a Disney shill. They don't
Yeah.
understand what that means. Any nuance is lost on
No.
discussing any of these Star Wars products.
Everything's not as black and white. Everything's not. It's fucking terrible or it's great.
And that was the frustrating thing about this show is, like I mentioned, the production design. I liked all that stuff. I think there's kernels of ideas that could be, if they were fleshed out more, the stakes were raised. It never really felt like it was that big of a deal that there were these twins that were created from nothing. Like, that's a pretty big deal. And that ultimately leads to Anakin. There's a through line there.
Well, yeah.
We see Darth Plagueis at the end of this, which I know early on people were complaining about that. Like, oh, this undermines what Darth Plagueis did. It's like, I didn't even watch the show. I was like, well, this is going to connect directly to it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it did.
Yeah, I think Darth Plagueis was remotely controlling anyone in that helmet. I think like Manny Jacinto, the what's his name, Quinar or something, QAnon, whatever his name was, something Quini and Quinan.
Whatever.
Quinine.
Dark helmet.
Dark Helmet, yeah. I think he certainly was like a dark Force user, but when he put the helmet on, I think Darth Plagueis was remote viewing through him and
Okay. I just assumed he was
because
Plagueis' apprentice or whatever.
No, when she put the helmet on, she started to like have a freak out. Remember that
Yeah,
part? And then
yeah.
she pulled it off, and for like a brief second, her eyes were like Palpatine eyes, like red, and then they faded away.
Okay.
So I think that's what's going on.
They'll explain it all
I'll
in
never
season
know.
2.
I'll never know because I don't care enough. But here's the thing: like you said, kernels of good ideas, right? Yes, the virgins. That's why the Jedis are on the planet walking around with metal detectors.
I was gonna say they're just using
looking for a virgin.
science equipment to detect this nebulous.
No, that's the Wookiee's like side project, side hustle. He's looking for coins. Because you know how Tobin didn't want to be there? He's like, I want to be out at the club.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
I don't want to sit around this campfire with a Wookiee and eat rubber chickens. I want to get back to Coruscant.
That was like that's another like faulty plot line was the whole thing when everything fell apart because Tobin was like, ooh, I could leave now.
He was just antsy to get off the planet. Yeah, it just felt very rushed.
Only a virgin could create that type of power.
This is it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's an apprentice. He's young. He's like still learning and all that. But
I assumed they were going to do something with, because when they surround the Coven of Witches, you know, they turn his eyes black and then she's like speaking to him in his mind. I was like, oh, maybe this is going to be the reveal that Padawan is like the cause of all the witches dying or something. But no.
I mean, kind of, because he jumps on a speeder and runs there, and I forgot what he was going to do, like kidnap the girls instead of the virgins thing.
Yeah,
he didn't care what the assignment was, no
Right.
matter how like grand of scale it was or important it was in the lore of the Force and all that. He just wanted to go back to Coruscant to his own bed so he could watch Netflix.
Hey, we all want a good night's sleep.
We all
so.
want to be in our own bed. His favorite restaurant on Coruscant, where he could get his greasy cheeseburger. It's this 1950s diner run by Django Mongo?
Dexter Jetster.
Dexter Jetster. That's his favorite diner.
Oh, okay. You want to get back there.
He's like, I miss those fries.
Yeah.
Dexter Jester's fries are the best, and I'll have to eat rats here while this Wookiee uses a metal detector to search for virgins in the Force. But
just visually them like sneak it, because that idea of like the Jedi kind of acting like cops. They go down to this planet to investigate, but they're just like literally hiding behind trees, like Wile E. Coyote or something, like peeking their heads around.
Well, see here, that's
the execution. It's all very silly.
Yeah, it's like the when they chased little Leia through the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's stupid.
Right.
But here's the thing. So that's the big mistake this show made was throw the Jedis under the bus, because just Star Wars fans, they love the Jedi.
The Sith Army. Anger is not the way of the Jedi.
Let me explain further, because Jedi, Star Wars, it's different than Star Trek. Star Wars is, good versus evil, the light side of the Force and the dark side of the Force. And Star Trek it's similar in the way where you have the Federation, and they're the pinnacle of all humanity can achieve, including alien worlds. It's a collective of planets that all function in this giant space democracy, and everyone works together for the betterment of each other, and they help each other. And it's like Star Trek explored some darker elements of that in Deep Space Nine during the Dominion War, when you uncovered the Section 31, a secret organization that does the dirty work for the Federation, for Starfleet, under the cloak of night, and no one talks about it, because sometimes dirty things need to get done. Your CIA, you got to oust this government, but Benjamin Sisko does some sketchy stuff, and then but it's all very that's that kind of sci-fi. Is that's Star Trek. Star Wars is good guys, bad guys, light side, dark side, and they don't want social commentary on that.
And that's what this tries to introduce, them, the Jedi doing things that it needs to be done. So we're going to do it, and we're going to kind of cover it up and
it said
lie.
This show has been in development for 4 years, right? And if you look back, what happened about 4 years ago?
I mean, that's all. It's all vague enough where it doesn't feel like a direct, like a. What is it? The Star Trek Picard is where they talk directly, but they just go to present day and talk about like ice, and it's not that on the nose with this. But it's more about that questioning leadership, questioning authority.
In 1977, it was novel that there was something called a Jedi Knight, a thing from the past. It was a special time of more enlightened warriors with swords and laser swords, and it's like novel. And when you try to like make it into some kind of realistic level, it starts to fall apart. You think of that about the Empire too, because I had many questions about the Empire, like how do all these people get paid? What do they do? And Andor managed to kind of like bring that down to some kind of realistic level.
Okay.
And I think that like a traditional knight is, you know, a guy in armor with a sword that usually is working for like a wealthy landowner or royalty, or, you know, and they're not really like a political institution unto themselves. And in this, the Jedi Knights are.
Yeah.
And there's that scene where they're like, the senators are coming in and poking around and going, "What are you guys doing? We don't trust you. We want to have, legislation about why Jedis shouldn't have so much power."
I think the Jedi are a massive system of unchecked power, posing as a religion, a delusional cult that claims to control the uncontrollable.
And all that kind of stuff is sort of interesting and could be done well, but there's so much like negativity surrounding the Jedis. One, they're stupid.
Yes.
They do so many stupid things.
I mean, that's going back to the prequels. They unintentionally come across stupid in that.
I don't think so. I would say very much less so than this. The prequels, they just seem sort of oblivious.
Yeah.
And that's different than stupid. It just means you're unaware of something that's going on.
Okay.
This, they just make dumb, like, logical decisions.
Well, like I guess you can explain it away by the fact that he's a Padawan, but yeah, the one guy rushing back to the witch coven on his speeder bike.
What's her name? Olestra?
Osha?
No, the bald-headed green lady.
Oh, I don't know.
Like Kunan is her former apprentice, because he's got the whip marks on his back, and she's got a laser whip, and it's revealed at the end. She's like, "It's him."
Yeah.
So she's like covering up her own like failure with her own Padawan. Carrie-Ann Moss and Soul covered up what they did to the witches' coven. Then at the end, she like lies about how Soul died. It's all like they're all acting super shady, and they are acting like cops, bad cops.
It feels like stuff the Empire should be doing, covering things up, and
and also then you have like sort of like the social element too. It's like they are also a religion, and they are saying like our religion is the right way, and we're going to come and poke around, and we don't feel it's right that you two lesbians can raise these daughters, so we're going to just take them.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like, well, you can go if you want to.
She says she wants to go. Yeah, and it's early on, like, because obviously episode 3 is the infamous lesbian witch coven ceremony, and everybody was like memeing on that. But in theory, I liked that idea that it's like, oh, okay, this is an offshoot of the Jedi call it the Force, the Jedi, or the Coven of Witches call it the Thread, right? It's like, oh, okay, it's just another religion. Like a lot of religions have, similarities and believe in similar things. And it's like, oh, that's an interesting kind of development in this, but then it's just executed in like the most awkward and weird way.
Yeah. I mean, I was okay with that.
And it doesn't really amount to much because the Jedi are so kind of authoritarian.
Yeah. See, I have, the series portrays them as Christian Keystone space cops. Our religion is the correct one.
Yeah.
Submit to our authority, cop/authoritarian state, aka we know what's right for you. Our religion is here to save you from being parented by 2 lesbians. Jedis appear mostly dumb and quick to react violently, aka trigger-happy cops, because they're always grabbing at their lightsaber.
And that's is it episode 7? That's the second flashback one?
I don't know.
Whatever the second flashback, where we get it from a different point of view. And we see the main witch lady turn into smoke.
Oh, yeah.
And just the soul immediately just tries to stab the smoke.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know what's happening. He just, that's trigger happy. He just immediately reacts violently.
And then,
and that's the cause of all of this. He doesn't even know what's happening.
A Jedi doesn't pull her weapon unless prepared to kill.
May has that line in the beginning. She says, a Jedi never takes out their lightsaber unless they intend to kill, or something like that. And that's also I don't know, you could kind of apply that to police. Like, cops, they take out their guns and they point them, but a cop never fires their gun unless they intend to kill.
Right.
That's the only, that's a last resort. I got to use my gun to kill, and they aim for your center body mass. And, why didn't the cops shoot him in the leg? Because they're not trained to do that because you can't stop to think.
Yes.
If you feel a danger, you got to stop it, or use a taser or whatever. But and I guess sometimes they might shoot out your tires, or I don't know. They lay those things on the ground, the spikes.
Oh yeah, they throw those spikes across the road. Yeah.
But yeah, so and then of course, the Jedis are always taking out their lightsabers.
Oh, it's you.
The one guy, Yorgon or whatever, he took it out in the cave to use it as a light. And so that's I'm thinking we haven't had Siths around, right? The idea, I said it was novel in 1977 for a space wizard to have a laser sword.
Sure.
Because it was the 70s, man. But why do they all have lightsabers? Let me ask you this.
Oh.
If there's no bad guys with red lightsabers, how are they so good at lightsaber to lightsaber combat?
They're very good at it, and in a bubble, that's one of the highlights of the show is the technical aspects of some of those lightsaber fights. But why is it there? Why is it happening?
Well, do they train it with each other, fighting with lightsabers?
I mean, we see those little kids in the prequels, so...
Yeah. So theoretically they train fighting each other with lightsabers, right? Like you spar.
Yeah.
But then when you're out in the real world, you're not going to fight another Jedi. You're going to fight some poor guy who's like a little robot man running, and you use a lightsaber on anybody, they die. It's like the most deadly weapon around.
Yeah.
Like Jedis, theoretically, if Jedis are truly the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, they should do what I believe police officers really wish they could do, is go to sleep.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Again, yeah.
I've subdued the perp.
Talking about the Jedi powers. Why wouldn't they do that to any sort of trouble they run into?
You want to put that gun down.
Yeah. They just, in this.
I'll kill the baby, man. You don't want to kill that baby. Okay, I don't. I've subdued
Problem
the perp.
solved, yeah.
And also, in a way, I was thinking too, when police show up somewhere, they don't show up in the cover unless they're serving a search warrant, or there's special ops or whatever. When the police show up to like an emergency or a crime, what do? They flip on their blue and red lights. They announce their presence.
Yes.
We're the police.
They don't hide behind trees.
They don't have pitch black cars and black outfits, and they sneak. They say we're the police, and that's kind of like a lightsaber is the worst thing ever. If you're out sneaking around and doing things, because the second you turn it on, everyone knows you're there.
Yeah.
So it's
and they're going to think it's an immediate threat too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why have lightsabers? the politics of the Jedi and how they interact with the government of Coruscant could be interesting in the hands of other writers. But this portrayed the Jedi as, one, they're boring to begin with.
Yes.
But they're also incompetent and stupid and, I don't know, heavy-handed, oafish, and
yeah, it's funny.
And with a touch of religious authoritarianism.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about the Phantom Menace. You have like Queen Amidala, and she's ruling her kingdom, and the Jedi kind of come in, and they're like a completely separate thing. They have no connection to governments.
Yeah.
You know, they're their own thing. And here it's like, oh, they're all working together. I mean, I know it's not the same as the Phantom Menace, but yeah, that aspect of like, oh, they're directly working with Senator, his name's like Senator Rancor, and it was very off-putting to me.
Master Benestra, Senator Raincourt's here to see you.
Where is he?
He's in there.
You let him in the control room?
Because it might be Senator Ancor, but Ancor sounds like Rancor.
Like the Rancor monster?
Like the Rancor monster. Call him something that doesn't sound like an existing Star Wars monster.
Sure. Sure. Like Senator Jabba the Hutt?
Senator Jabba the Hutt,
that wouldn't be confusing. That'd be less confusing. Senator Hoth Monster? Hoth Wampa? Anyways.
Senator Buttface.
Okay, well then here's the other thing. The heart of the show, unfortunately, is Osha and May, the least interesting characters ever created.
Yeah.
Because the actress...
They actually get less interesting as it goes along when you find out that they're basically the same person. That makes it less interesting.
Yeah.
They're not their own individual people.
Yeah, they're clones of each other, although one has different inklings and the other is sort of just mean and one wants to be a Jedi.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that works, but the acting makes me confused on which one it is. And then they switch clothes and that makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Now the heart of the story is Sol's relationship with May and or Osha.
Yes.
And they go there, and Sol sees that they have lesbian parents, and says, "This is not a great environment for you to get raised in. You have to immediately leave and become part of the Jedi." And he's like, "I loved her," and when
I worry she's not safe. I want to do what's best for Osha.
You don't get to decide that.
Yeah, we never get any. I guess that's the backstory, but that would have been more interesting to see than most of what we got on the show.
If that was, not that I would have enjoyed a show like that, but if the whole show was like because you can have Jedi and a Jedi can be flawed or have a fall from grace, which is fine. You have the Jedi, and they're these knights, and they're proud and they're smart, and there's blah blah blah, and they go to this planet, and maybe the witches are welcoming, and they have done this secret thing, but maybe they just got into something they didn't know that it was a dark art, and maybe they're a little less hostile, and then the Jedi say, well, this is interesting. You use the Force as a thread. And wow, let's learn from each other. And they have this thing, and then several episodes go by, and Osha and Sol develop this relationship over 3, 4 episodes, 5 episodes, and he starts to see her as his daughter, and they form this bond, and then something happens, and then we get no backstory of why he just absolutely loves these 2 girls.
Yeah.
But I knew I was different from my family. The Jedi saw how special I was. And I can see that in you, Osha. I was very scared to leave my family. But when I joined the Jedi, I found out there were many other children like me.
Because that's what it has to be to get to a point where Osha and May basically switch sides, and one becomes more evil and one wants to become... That was very clever at the end when Osha, the previously good character, is wearing dark colors.
I'm picking up on your sarcasm.
And May, the bad character, was wearing the light colors.
See, this is...
That was kind of the thing, is I thought the whole thing was going to be about their relationship, and it really isn't. Both May and Osha, or Osha and Soul. Yeah. Any of those relationships on their own could have been fleshed out into something interesting.
They weren't developed because they spent too much time stringing you along on a mystery that was sort of ultimately pointless.
Yeah.
And it's all like, I have a little section called platitudes. The whole show feels like that. I wrote some down.
Is this actual dialogue you're going to recite from the show?
Okay. Yeah, quote, "I lost everything, but when you lose everything, that's when you're finally free." Quote.
Which I think is a direct line from Fight Club, or very similar to a line from Fight Club.
It was lifted. "I don't trust you, nor should you, but you should learn to trust yourself. We're not defined by what we lose. We're defined by what we survive. May has always been your wound. Maybe he brought you here to fix her, but maybe he brought you here to fix yourself."
Whenever I hear lines like that, do you remember the movie Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr.?
No.
It was like a Simple Jack situation where he played a mentally challenged man.
Oh.
And there's a line in the trailer where they're like, maybe we aren't the ones teaching radio. Maybe radio's the one teaching us.
Right.
Well, the truth is, we're not the ones been teaching radio. Radio's the one been teaching us.
It's that kind of schmaltzy, like, sounds good in a trailer, but it doesn't sound like any human being would actually say it because it's so on the nose.
The lines sound good in the show at the moment, but really they lack substance, hence a platitude.
Which I think, wasn't that one of your complaints about, like, the Star Trek Discovery, like a lot of dialogue like that?
Yeah, because you have to pick your road, and you have to double down on what you want to do and what you want people to take away from it.
Yeah.
I got nothing from the May, Osha, Soul storyline. Barely anything, because nothing was given to us.
Yeah.
Same with the mothers, and then the Jedi is like every now and then they'd have a scene where Vernestra, that's her name. The green
Olestra?
Olestra. Vernestra.
That's Leslie Headland's wife, right?
Yes.
The green lady?
She, every now and then there would be some kind of like scene where they would say a couple lines, you know, "I'm Senator so-and-so, I'm Senator Rancor, Pit Monster." And I think what you Jedis are doing is weird. There's a murder and we're handling this investigation internally. Well, I'm going to tell the Senate, don't do that yet, or I don't know, end scene. Get us out of here. I don't know what to say. I don't know. I'm not getting into the end scene.
Yeah.
Back to May. We're looking around the woods, and it's like work the inner political mechanisms of the because that's interesting to me. Sure, I don't want to expand on the lore of Star Wars. I don't care.
Yeah.
But
that's an angle.
It's an angle,
if you focus
and
on
it can be done successfully, as Andor has proven.
Sure.
How the Jedi operate in an actual like democratic government, because really they're knights that guardians of truth and justice in the galaxy. That's what they are, and they have to operate within a bureaucracy that has rules and councils and regulations and Senate passing bills, and they have to do stuff like that, and they have to account for their actions, and that's in this too, is they didn't want to account for their actions, so they just lied.
They just want to cover everything up and lie all the time. Yeah.
And all of that is just downright terrible for multiple Jedis to be involved in. Maybe one if you have a fall from grace plotline.
Yeah, I think the idea is you're supposed to be wrapped up more in the character drama. But
which is
lacking in that too. But I think that
May
was
and
the
Osha?
idea. May and Osha and Soul, yeah, that kind of those three characters.
Or the third path is some sort of like, you know, like Reylo love plot. We never really got a solid Reylo love plot.
No.
Like it kind of happened at the end of the third movie, but then they just died. There was a kind of a thing going on in Last Jedi where they were like, he's like taking his shirt off and he's all
Oh
sweaty.
yeah,
and
they have some sort of psychic connection.
So what are you doing now?
Do you have something, a cowl or something you can put on?
I'm just sitting here. What are you? I'm on Octo with Luke Skywalker. I'm on a Star Destroyer with my shirt off. I'm all sweaty. What are you doing? Leave me alone. Get out of my head. And then I thought, oh, they're going to have a third movie is going to be them falling in love and teaming up, and Kylo's going to switch back.
No time for that in that third movie.
Yeah, we got
too much other shit to cram in.
We got to do other things. So I was like, so this with Manny Jacinto, aka the Good Place guy, him and I don't even know which one it was. Mayor Osha. One of them. They could have had a little like, good side, bad side, love plot going, and then that's your story.
I thought that's where it was going too, because there's the point halfway through the season where May and Osha kind of switch after the big lightsaber fight in the woods, after episode 5, which is the fan film episode. Which is funny because we always talk about, Star Wars fan films. The joke is always, it's just people fighting with lightsabers in the woods. The entirety of episode 5 is lightsaber fights in the woods. But then they kind of switch, and then, Osha is with Dark Helmet. Yeah. And they're on that little planet together. They're in the cave. She tries on the helmet, all that stuff.
It's the Last Jedi planet.
Yeah, is it actually or is that just the idea?
It says unknown planet, and then they have those little creatures are sort of like,
okay.
I think they're the things that Luke milked the tits of. I think they're little babies of those.
So it's supposed to literally be that same planet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because those scenes felt very like, Kylo Ren and Rey to me. And so, I thought that was kind of going to develop into something, but no. It doesn't take much convincing for her to kind of get on his side, but then it's not really developed into anything. There's a very weird, speaking of lack of development, when they're going May and Dark Helmet, they're going to kill the Wookiee Jedi, and they're wandering through the woods. And then almost out of nowhere, May changes her mind. It's like, my sister being alive changes everything, and now I'm not going to kill the Wookiee.
Can't believe my sister's Jedi scum.
Like, he came all this way. There's nothing like no new information that made her change her mind. Just in the middle of the episode, she just changed her mind and changed the course of her entire motivation. And I was like, why did that happen? Why did that happen in this story?
Now she is mine.
So that's the bigger problem is, now that I've seen all the episodes, it's not the minutia of the canon. Like, I don't know, Coyote Mundi, the Coyote Mundi controversy.
What was that even about? I know it was about his birthday being changed, but that has nothing to do with this show, does it?
Well, here's sort of. I don't know. Because Coyote Mundi said in The Phantom Menace, the Sith have been extinct for a millennia. Mm-hmm. And then in this, it shows him there, and they're talking about this. Oh, yeah, there's that. And considering the fact that finally we got to the end, we discover that Vernestra covered everything up. Mm-hmm. We may not be aware, he may not have been aware of a Sith, and apparently Darth Plagueis is going to go back into hiding for another 100 years, and there's not going to be anything exciting happening in the second season. I don't know. But Coyote Mundi... he was supposed to be born, I don't know, 40 years before The Phantom Menace, and this is 100 years.
Okay.
So they Wikipedia changed his birth date, like everybody meant. And that, you know what? I'm gonna say something. You're not gonna like it, Jay.
Oh.
The man on the internet, Star Wars man.
Okay, Tales of the Empire is nothing compared to Tales of the Jedi that happened last year. Not even comparable. Grievous stole the show. Vader was clickbaited hard. He literally sat in a throne, a little dinky throne, mind you.
I don't know what his name is. The man that was very upset about that.
Yeah.
That I made fun of, and I said, Jesus, don't get all bent out of shape out of this. There's starving people in the world to worry about.
You mean that funny joke that Rich laughed at?
It's a joke. I have to apologize to Star Wars man.
Okay.
Because that is his thing. That is Star Wars fans love their details and canon. And I love my details and canon in Star Trek. Not so much anymore. I've kind of like given up on that.
Well, you have to
But
at some
boy,
point.
oh boy, did it annoy me when they didn't know why 10 Forward was called 10 Forward. They thought it was named after the street that Guinan had her bar on in San Francisco. And I thought, no, that's not why it's called 10 Forward. It's because it's on deck 10 in the forward section of the ship. And that annoyed me. So in full acknowledgement, one could have said, why do you got to worry about that, Mike? They're starving children in Africa. And so, you know, I publicly apologize to Star Wars Man. I think his name is Star Wars Theory Man. I don't know. It's not Theory Sabers? I don't know. He's mad about Star Wars. They're all mad about Star Wars.
That's my favorite sitcom from the 90s, by the way.
Yeah.
NBC's Mad About Star Wars. It's a very good show. It's
With,
very funny.
with Paul
Reiser and
Paul
Helen
Reiser.
Hunt. It's very charming.
Anyways, so
everybody has their little hypocrisies.
Everyone's got their thing, and some people are super into Star Wars. And I think that's why they're all mad, because not that the show, maybe it threw some of the canon and got things wrong, but I think it's the tone of, it's like if
what it's done with the Jedi as a whole.
Yeah, it's like for me, for them, it's the Jedi acting like Keystone Cops. They're stupid. They cover things up. They lie. They're awful. They kill people. They steal children from lesbian space witches. To me, that's the equivalent of when these Starfleet crew in Strange New Worlds act like idiotic teenagers.
Hi.
In the old Star Trek, everyone's a professional, a space professional on a starship, doing their job, and they don't say, whoa.
It's like riding a bike.
Wicked, like when they're flying a shuttlecraft around.
Yeah.
Whoa, wicked, woohoo! They don't do that. And when adults do that on Star Trek, it makes my skin crawl. So, yes, in this hostile discourse of everyone yelling at each other on the internet, I'll do the one thing that no one on the internet has ever done: admit I was wrong and apologize. Because I just don't care. And
I think that's the big thing for me is everyone needs to accept the fact that all your favorite franchises have been in flames for years now. Like when I look at this, I'm not comparing it to the original trilogy. I'm comparing it to other Disney Star Wars products, because that's all it is anymore. And it has been for probably longer than Star Trek has. So Star Trek is a little more recent in terms of taking that turn.
Right. So for me, I'm not versed in the nuances of Star Wars canon. I'm just like a big picture guy. What do I get out of this?
Well, I feel like that's a big difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. Is the technical details. Star Wars has always been like space fantasy.
It's a little loosey-goosey.
A little more loose. Yeah.
Right. And really, to me, it's like I look back at the whole season and say, what I get out of this? What did the show want me to be invested in? What did they want me to get out of it? Was it the relationship? Was it this?
Yeah.
Was it, this political intrigue with the Jedis? And like, to me, a Star Wars show with Jedi, like, I think they should have shown, instead of the Sith bad guy fighting, they should have shown Jedi being the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, right? How about Jedi go off?
But then when will they take out their lightsabers, Mike?
They can.
Okay.
Whenever they need to, but they should go around and do what a guardian of peace and justice in the galaxy does, and have like little episodes, individual episodes where they investigate things, and like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Make it a little more like Star Trek. Take it a little different twist.
Sure.
And they go down to this planet. This planet is having problems. There's a monster coming and taking their crops. And then there's an alien spaceship that comes down and kidnaps, their elderly people and puts them in a meat grinder. And the Jedi say, well, this is outrageous. This is an injustice. We're going to help. I don't know, whatever. We're gonna solve the crime of who murdered, the king of the planet Globaguk. I
We'll
don't
investigate this by peeking out from behind trees.
Yeah, we're gonna be the guardians of peace and justice, and we're gonna save civilizations. We're gonna do what's right. We're gonna have a moral compass. We're gonna save people. We're gonna be like superheroes because that's kind of what they are. And you could have like little adventures. Get rid of the Sith.
I think that was the
dark
big
side.
thing by the time you get to the end of this season, and yeah, it's more light fighting dark with lightsabers, and there's even a line that's like, I think I wrote it down, that's something like, strike him down and you will become more powerful.
Oh yeah, it's like lifted right.
Lifted right from the original movie, and I was just like, oh, we're doing this again.
Yeah.
Good, May. Feel your anger. Strike him down. And your journey will be complete.
Strike him down, you'll become powerful.
Yeah.
Let your hate has made you powerful.
Well, it's one of those types of lines where
Yeah.
I'm like, it's this again.
Yeah.
I know that's a staple of Star Wars is, the whole poetry, it rhymes thing, but
doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
No. Please don't be Yoda.
We need to talk.
No, fuck off.
And then the worst crime of all, because when the show started, I said, you know who's in this.
Oh, did you point out Yoda was going to show up?
Well, I didn't point it out, but
He's the only character old enough to, I guess.
He's 900.
It's very
800
tastefully
years
done,
old.
though. You just see his little ears, and then it cuts to credits, and we're out.
Yeah, but it was.
He'll be all in the second season.
Yeah,
if it comes
it's
back.
It's a teaser to get you to the second season greenlit. No,
that's what they did.
Intended.
That's what they did with Mandalorian too. The first season was kind of its own thing. Second season, almost every episode was just a setup for some other thing. Ahsoka.
Yes, and that's what they did in Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
There's a ship approaching. I'm getting its registry number now on my computer. Enterprise. I'm like, I know what she's gonna do. Stop it! And the dun dun dun. Here it comes. Digging up the graves. Just stop.
That's why I was kind of interested in this show, because it's set in such a different time frame where I was like, okay, we're not going to get like weird de-aged Mark Hamill showing up or any of that crap. But then, yeah, they crammed Yoda in at the last second. So
yeah, it was a foregone conclusion because he's old enough, and they show him not involved in the day-to-day operations. He's sort of just meditating in a closed room, just to visually represent that he has no fucking idea what's going on with all this like nonsense.
Yeah.
And then Olestra's going to come in and be like, "Listen, you gotta bury this." If she says the first episode of season 2, listen, a bunch of Jedis murdered a whole bunch of people and then they covered it up, or Master Soul was a liar and a murderer and now he's dead. Lying to me you are, bitch. Yoda better say that, not, okay.
Yeah.
I'll cover this up, I will.
Well, that's assuming there will be a second season. It seems like nobody liked this show, so I don't know. That might be it.
Yeah. It's the all-ID aller. It just depends on what happens.
Yeah.
Like, if it was I don't know how.
Which is what you were saying in your first part, which also kind of got taken out of context. You're saying you stop watching it, the numbers go down. That's all they care about are the numbers.
Yeah.
But people ignored the second part. They just focused on you saying just stop watching it. But you look at something like, is it HBO that has the Velma animated series? That show got an entire second season because of hate watching.
Yeah.
Everybody hated that first season, but everybody kept watching it so they could keep talking about how much they hated it. So much so, all the people at HBO are seeing are the numbers. Wow, a lot of people are watching this show. We'll make more of that.
There's hate watching, and then there's watching for content. Like your regular Joe Schmo watching a show could watch for hate watch or whatever. But the content creators who talk about Star Wars, that's their job.
Right.
Obviously they're gonna every Acolyte episode is gonna be the worst one ever. They're going to talk about it because it gets clicks. That I'm okay with because we do the same damn thing.
Right.
But up until a certain point, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And with like Star Trek Picard, that was just like me frothing at the mouth. Like, oh my God, you're making a Star Trek Picard TV series, and you're fucking it up on such an epic level. Until you get to season 3, which was fantastic.
Well, that to me, that's the difference between something like Star Trek Picard and this Acolyte show, which this show is just so kind of like middle of the road bad, kind of boring bad. It's not doing any, at least to me, and I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. To me, there's nothing in it that's just like egregiously terrible. It's all just kind of awkward and boring.
That's from your kind of outsider perspective.
I suppose, yeah.
Like
but that's an important market that Disney needs to worry about. Because if you want this whole thing to keep going, you can't just like coast off of existing fans. Like that's their goal, is of course to bring in new people, or maybe people that have seen Star Wars in the past but have lost interest. You want to keep growing that audience. So if you do a new show, you want it to reach a larger audience than the previous show. And I don't think anyone that's like vaguely curious about Star Wars is going to watch this show and be like, I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I mean that's
a problem.
That's a weird like demographic that I don't really understand. I understand like there's old school and new school, and the new school was like, it was just like as you say, thirst posts about the shirtless Manny Jacinto.
Yeah,
and it was like, ooh, I'm part of the Yord Horde, and it was like nonsense like that. It was like fluff. It was fluff.
That has nothing to do with the actual story or anything important.
I think there was some like I'm Team May, I'm Team OSHA.
Oh God.
Heart, soul. like it was like, who is that? Yeah. Who's saying this? 12-year-old girls? Like, who are these people that are watching Star Wars for that?
Yeah.
But then I think the bulk of the people are like more hardcore Star Wars fans that want it to maintain the same tone as Lucas's stuff and previous Star Wars installments, that wanted to take itself a little more seriously, have a little more rigid alignment with the canon and all that. Like, I think a Jedi adventure show where the Jedis go out and do good things and are the good guys is that was crossing the line, is to make the Jedi sketchy.
Yeah.
Oblivious is one thing. Sketchy and incompetent is another.
Sure.
And I think that was the big sin of this show. Not so much like the boring like twin plot and it's like whatever, or even the lesbian space witches messing around with a weird element of the Force. Like I was like, okay, whatever.
I thought that was kind of interesting. It wasn't executed great, but it's a new element to add to Star Wars.
When it was revealed that everybody was shitty, that's when I was out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah. And then the Yoda plug at the end. It's just like, but there's that saying, you can never go home again. And I think that's where we're at with many of these franchises.
Yes.
Star Wars, Star Trek. That's just like I watched Discovery. I gave it a shot, and it just kept getting worse and more annoying. And I even for clicks, I couldn't hate watch it anymore. And I had to do my part as a citizen of the world and stop watching it. I mean, if they make a season 2 of The Acolyte and it's kind of the same like style, then you've said your piece on the internet about how terrible The Acolyte is and how much you hate Leslie Headland.
Mm-hmm.
You've said your piece.
It's not going to change.
Don't even touch it.
Yeah.
Don't watch it. Don't touch it. And that will be the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's saying the Velma show is terrible. I got to watch it and see if it's that bad.
Yes. But if it's...
my God, Velma's numbers are through the roof. We're going to greenlight a second season.
That's okay, because you could get entertainment out of that. Like, here's the difference, right? Because I think also there was some comments. You guys watch bad movies.
But those are fun and entertaining.
That's the thing. It's like
enjoyable.
Everyone was saying you got to see this movie called The Room because it's so fucking terrible, and you can go and laugh at it and have fun. But The Room wasn't someone's entire life.
Yes. Well, it was Tommy Wiseau's entire life.
Fans.
Right.
Their complete identity as a person is their love of this franchise. And them saying like, going to watch it over and hate watch it just draws attention to it. Just bow out. You got to bow out.
Sometimes you got to move on.
So you can enjoy watching something bad, but you can't support something bad that is a direct affront to everything that you love.
Yeah.
It's just like, just get out, shut it off. Don't tell others to watch it because it's so terrible. Because it's a Chinese finger trap.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Don't pull the Chinese finger trap. That's all I'm saying with that. And yes. I was going to say, everybody just don't watch the last episode of The Acolyte. Everyone on the internet that's complaining about The Acolyte.
It was going to be the Acolyte challenge.
You've made your point with the first 7 episodes of how fucking terrible it is and how much you hate it.
Yeah.
Collectively, boycott if you want. It's too late now. But collectively say, listen, all Star Wars fans unite. Because I think, was it Chris Gore that had the funeral for Star Wars?
Oh, yeah, that was like the most embarrassing thing ever.
Yeah, I didn't go to it. I didn't attend. But he should have...
now Star Wars is dead. It wasn't
before. He should
have
said, instead of watching the finale of The Acolyte, let's all meet together and talk about how Star Wars has changed our lives and how we love it, instead of watching that final episode. And then when that final episode comes in and the only people that watched it
Disney sees the numbers go down.
Are the thirst posters who want to see the Good Place guy come out of a hot spring, flopping his dang around. If that's the only people that tuned in, you got about 48 people tuned in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's our lucky number.
Oh yeah. Now it's just in your brain.
Now it's just in my brain forever. So that could have done something to the number crunchers at Disney, where they go, oh, no one tuned in to watch how this show ended. That is noteworthy.
Yes.
So that's all I was saying with that. I feel like we've redeemed ourselves, although I have no doubt this video will be re-uploaded and nitpicked apart, and everything we say will be somehow analyzed by someone on the internet.
And twisted to be something that isn't what we said or meant.
You know what? I don't care. I'm out. I'm out of Star Wars.
I've been out of Star Wars. Every time I dip back into Star Wars, I'm reminded of why I got out of Star Wars a long time ago.
It's a weird thing. Star Wars and Star Trek both still have so much potential in the right hands, and the little blip on the radar was Andor.
Yeah.
In the hands of someone qualified.
And you could say the blip for Star Trek was the 3rd season of Picard.
Yes.
So.
Yes, in the hands of someone, showrunners that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You could still do something good. But I think a lot of bad decisions are being made behind the scenes in these franchises.
How is Alex Kurtzman still involved with Star Trek stuff? How does that keep happening?
There's a phrase called failing upwards, Jay. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
That's my life.
And being a guy that knows Bryan Singer's secrets. That's also part of the, Singer's secrets get you far in this town.
We're blasting a lot of into his face, and it's one of the reasons the character puts on goggles, because it can be very dangerous to the eyes to put that much onto a person's face.
So that's our recap of Star Wars: The Acolyte. Had potential, but made many, many, many mistakes in its production, and didn't know which path to take, didn't know what to focus on, and did many things that upset many fans.
I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate.
And I propose a better Star Wars Jedi show called Jedi's Adventures in Space.
Isn't there Jedi Academy? Is that about babies, though?
There's young Jedis.
Is that a show? Oh.
But
that's for babies, right?
Jedis flying around the galaxy, going on missions, doing good, and then having their morals challenged, ethics challenged in certain situations, which is essentially Star Trek. Would be a good show because you have
Well, it's overdue because with the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, they turned more into Star Wars movies. So now we just got to do the opposite.
Yes. And J.J. Abrams' Star Wars movies turned into Roger Corman movies. I don't know how that happened.
Turned into damage control for Disney. Oh, fuck!
What do we do?
What do we do? Let's focus on TV shows. Oh, shit, nobody likes any of the TV shows.
It's scary.
Baby Yoda movie, that's all we got left.
It's scary living in a world where no one's in charge of your favorite franchises and no one's in charge of your government.
Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
It's a scary time.
Yeah.
So, my recommendation for everyone out there, start investing in canned food and shotguns.